recruitment, you must be also connected to exit interviews and to the reasons why employees leave. What do you see?
I mean, to a lesser degree, I think some of us are very skeptical around how meaningful is the data coming out of an exit interview, and it depends on when a company does it. There's huge debate.
But also, also during the selection, you ask why you're leaving your current employer, and there's always this polished answer.
Exactly.
Well practiced. So.
Exactly. And when you do the exit interview, do you do it 2 weeks after they leave? Are they going to be more honest, or is it better to wait 3 or 4 months later when they might be more giving in terms of the information? But I have not personally found the exit interviews to be all that valuable, just because of that fact that we can't always trust what they're sharing back as the honest reasons as to why they've left. Now, I think you know this, most people leave due to a bad relationship with their direct manager, and more often than not, that is typically the reason why people leave. Although I think we're starting to see, some of the data showing that it's lack of career advancement or movement. And certainly coming out of the pandemic, salaries were on a real rampage where we were seeing people leave for 20-30% increases in salary, and that certainly is attractive, especially when there's a war for talent.
And when there is a war for talent and shortage of labor, at the same time, technology and processes and organizations change and evolve as well. Therefore, the critical attributes and skill sets and knowledge and experiences that people need to bring to the table are shifting as well. Any new trends, or is it still similar music that we listened to before?
People who have that digital acumen, to your point, is going to be absolutely paramount, that can adopt technology, that they're not fearful of it, and realize how technology can aid and benefit them in terms of doing their work. That would be one. We've talked about this concept of growth mindset for many, many years. You know better than most. I mean, you've probably been talking about it longer than anyone, but I think that's truly coming to fruition now where, having people who understand, what that growth mindset means in terms of helping their organizations grow and develop is certainly important. And, resilience. And again, I think, not to go back to the pandemic again, but I think that has taught us, employees who have that resilience factor is going to be so critical, because I think change is just ever the constant now, and it's really happening in spurts of every 3 months. Change is happening. So employees who are that resilient and can do that change management are going to be a really important skill set to be looking for.
And I've come to realizations that curiosity and resilience are really points of entry to any executive level. So you need to have that growth mindset, you need to be curious, you need to be humble and want to learn, because then you don't work from an old workbook that worked for you in the past, but you are really agile and are able to adapt to whatever the world is throwing at you. But resilience, if you do not have the stamina to manage the stress and manage the change, your judgment will get impaired, right? And you'll start making wrong decisions. So you see that as well.
And I think, so many companies are relying on internal mobility now, back to kind of a retention strategy. And so you're seeing many organizations, take people who are strong performers and move them into completely different career opportunities. And so employees who have that ability to kind of shift into a new role, bring a different perspective, is always so useful and thoughtful. And, it happens typically in the recruiting world where people will put non-TA people into the role just to have a different perspective on how to do recruiting. And, it's so valuable to have that different perspective, and really aids to the diversity of an organization as well, which is what a lot of companies are also talking about.
They're talking about it, but struggling with it, no?
Very much so. And in fact, I read an article where a lot of organizations who had created or elevated their DEI leader role are now rescinding on that and have realized they have not moved the needle whatsoever, despite all of the efforts they have put in place to kind of change people's thinking and how they operate.